Good morning and welcome to Great Games Computer Learning Videos. This is the fourth video in the HTML5 Canvas video series. Today we'll be discussing Tutorial 4, Drawing Lines. So let's get started. First, I'm going to bring up my editor, which I'm using Notepad++, and I'm going to also bring up the project that we'll be working on or that we'll be building so you can kind of see what it is before we start working on it. So with this, in my editor, I'm going to start off with my HTML coding. And since I'm using a HTML document, I'm going to put the HTML open and close tags. And then HTML documents generally have two basic parts. They have a head section, and I'll put the close head. And they have a body section, and I'll put the closed body. Okay. Now inside each one of these sections, there's several different things that we're going to be putting in here. For example, we want a title on this project, so I'm going to go ahead and put title. And we're also going to have a style section here. Okay, so we have both of those up in the head section. And then down below in the body section, I'm going to tab over. We're going to have an H1 header level. We're going to have an H3. We're going to have a canvas element in here. A script area. This will be for our JavaScript. And our last section is going to be the H4 section, which will be for the copyright information. Okay, now as I look at this this file, I can go ahead and save it. I can do a run. I'll run it in Canvas. And actually I'm just going to refresh it right here. And you still see that nothing really comes up at this point. We have basically an empty file here. Okay, I have it saved as a drawing for HTML here, but other than that, there's really not much to it. Let me just try running this in Chrome real quick. And once again, nothing comes up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start plugging in some text. It's going to be displayed on our page. We need to have this Tutorial 4. We need to have the drawing rectangles, and we need the copyright information down below. We do have the canvas element in here, but because it's invisible, actually transparent, you really can't see it. So I'm going to go into the title section. I'm going to call this Tutorial 4. Jumping down to the H1, this will be the title that's right here on the page. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this here in as Tutorial 4. Our H3 is going to be our subtitle, and if you look at our page here, it says Drawing Rectangles. So let's put that in here. And our last item down here is our copyright information. So let's go ahead and put that. And I'm going to save this page, refresh the browser, and I still don't see the canvas, but I do see everything else. But notice if I select everything on this page, I have an area here that is my canvas. By default, it's 300 by 150. So that means 300 wide by 150 high. We're going to change that because the document that we're going to be creating is going to be longer than 300, and it's going to be slightly longer than 200, 150 high. Okay, So with this in here, the first thing we probably should do is specify a style. So I'm going to click right in the style tags there, press enter twice. And if I go back up one with my arrow key and tab over, I'm exactly where I want to be for this tile section. First element we're going to format is our body section. So I'm going to put body. We want to change the text color, so I'm going to put color, colon, and we want the text to be white on this page. Okay, so if we look over here, we see the white text. We also want to have a background color. So I'm going to go ahead and put background color, dash color, and I'm going to make this here a bluish color. So I'm going to go to the pound sign, and then I'm going to put in 4D 7A FF and a semicolon. So that's going to give us kind of the nice soft blue that we see on the background of that page. Next thing I want to do is to give it a font. I don't particularly care for these default fonts that look kind of like a New Times Roman. It's a little difficult to read those on web pages at times. So I want something that's more open like this. Notice the difference between this one down here and this one that has more of an open look to it. So I'm going to go ahead and specify my font. I'll put font dash family colon, and then inside quotes I'm going to specify the font I want to use. Century Gothic, and make sure that you close that quote and you close that line with a semicolon. And the last thing I want to do here with this on the body section is to align the text in Canvas so it's in the center of the page. So I'm going to put text align colon center semicolon and then a closed curly brace because I want to close this curly brace out from here to here. Okay? Alright, next thing we need to do is to come down and hit the backspace. We want to format the canvas area. So this canvas area, I want the background of it to be white. And then once again, make sure you end with a semicolon and a closed curly brace. The reason that I'm specifying white, even though it looks white here, is because the canvas is transparent. And whatever the background color of the page is, that is going to bleed through that transparent element, the canvas. So I want to hold it white, and when I change my page to blue, I still want the canvas to be white. So I'm specifying the background color. Okay, once we've got that in there, I'm going to come down. We're going to do a couple things with Canvas, and then we're going to start doing the JavaScript inside of the script area. So I'm going to click in between the Canvas tags, press enter. I'm going to press it one more time. And in between those two tags, I want to just put a message for the user in case their browser is outdated. I'm going to say update browser. Okay. So then again, if their browser is an older browser and it does not take advantage of the Canvas element, I don't want it to just be blank. I want to let them know that they need to update their browser. So that's what that will do. If their browser is state of the art, it's compatible with Canvas, it will ignore this here and it will actually do whatever we've told it to do down in the script area. Alright, one last thing I want to do with the canvas before we start the JavaScript is I want to give it a name. So I'm going to put ID equals, in quotes, I'm going to put my canvas. And I want to specify a width for this canvas. The default is 300 wide. I want it to actually be 425. So I'll put width equals, and then in quotes, 425. And the height, okay, for the height, I'm going to make this here 200. Alright, that should take care of my canvas now. Last thing we need to do is the JavaScript to get it to draw some of these things. I'm going to go ahead and save it, update my page, and just make sure all the formatting applies. If it doesn't, there's a little typo somewhere, we got to go back and find it. But before we continue on, I wanted to make sure that all this looked good. So my CSS is working, my page is formatted, I've got blue, white canvas area, white text. The font has changed, it's no longer that New Times Roman. It looks like it's a Century Gothic font. Okay, everything's looking good. I'm going to click in between the script and close script, press enter twice, and then I'm going to just tab over, and I'm going to start my code by declaring a couple of variables. The first one is going to be called canvas, all lowercase, and we're going to set this equal to the document, dot, and then get element by ID, and we're going to pass the name of that canvas, and we called it my canvas. So with quotes, I'm going to put my canvas. Remember that the C is capitalized, close parenthesis, and a semicolon to end that statement. And then I'm going to come down one line and I'm going to declare my other variable, which is going to be called context. This is all lowercase. It's going to be equal to the canvas dot, and then we're going to have a method here called get context. Lowercase get, capital C for context, and then in parentheses we want to pass a string called 2D, and that D is lowercase. So 2D, and end the whole thing with a semicolon. Okay. Now let's just double check, make sure that we have canvas all lowercase equals document. I would advise to keep this on one line. Do not force it on a second line. My text happens to be wrapping inside my editor because my font is so large, and so it automatically pushes it down to the next line, and this doesn't fit on the end, so it pushes it down a third line. If I had my text set at the size of the default text editor, it would easily fit on one line, and that's how I would suggest you do it. The second item, var context all lowercase equals canvas lowercase dot get context uppercase C, and we're passing in parentheses a string called 2D with D being lowercase, and then ending in a semicolon. Remember, this here should be on one line. You can put it on two, but I wouldn't force it on two lines. Keep it on one unless it's wrapping in your editor. Okay, after that we're going to jump down. We're going to put in a little comment here that says rectangles, and we will start the code to draw our rectangles. I want to start with context dot begin path, open close parenthesis, come down a couple lines, and I want to close this path. So I'm going to put context dot stroke, open close parenthesis, and a semicolon. Now anything between these two statements is going to be the path that you're going to draw with. As we get more into the tutorials, I will explain this more, but just remember that this is like a path or a section of your drawing, and we're going to go ahead and put our rectangles in this area. So to do our big rectangle here, I want to have it so that it has a margin or a border of about 50 pixels between it and the outside of the canvas area. So if we know this whole canvas is 425, we know that this line here is going to be 425 minus 50 and minus another 50. So it'll be 325. And if this height of this canvas is 200 and we have a 50 border here and a 50 here, that means it's going to be 100 high. So let's start with that outside rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and put in context dot rect, R-E-C-T, all lowercase. And inside here I'm going to pass an X and a Y value, which is going to be the upper left corner of a rectangle. So I'm moving over 50 from the left, coming down 50 from the top. So my starting point is going to have an x value of 50, a y value of 50, and then I said that the length on this is 325. Okay, so 325, and it's starting down by 50. So actually, I'm sorry, it's going to be 100 high. So we're going to go back here and put in 325 for the width, and we're going to put in 100 for the height of that rectangle. Okay. So we look at this here. We've got a rectangle starting with the upper left corner at 50 by 50, and we're going to be drawing it so that it's 325 wide and 100 high, and that should give us the large rectangle around the outside. If I save this and refresh my page, I should see that rectangle show up. Okay, now the next one we need to do is this first little rectangle here, and these little rectangles are 50 by 50, and we know that this is 100 high, so we're going to have a border width here of about 25 and a border width here of about 25. So if this point starts at 50 by 50, this point is going to start at 75 by 75, and it's going to go 50 and 50 for the width and height. So I'm going to copy 27. I'm just going to click on that line, press Ctrl C to copy it to the clipboard, press Ctrl V as in Victor twice, and it will paste over the original one and give me one new one. And I said it was going to start at 75 by 75, and it was going to be 50 by 50 as far as its width and height. So let's put in 50, and we put in a 50 here. And if I save it and refresh, I should see that first box show up. Okay, now the other three boxes are identical in size. They're just a different location, and their only different location is in the x axis, not in the y. All the y's are the same. So what I'm going to do to speed up this process a bit is I'm going to click on 28, select the entire line, press Ctrl C to copy that to the clipboard, and then I want to paste it 4 times. 1 to overwrite this one, and then 3 more times to give me 3 new ones. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it should give me those 4 rectangles. And if we look at the placement of these here, this first one was starting at x75, and so we're moving it over 50 plus 25, so the next one should start at 150. So we're going to change this to 150. And because the pattern is the same, the placement is the same in x all the way across, we're just going to add 75 to that each time. So 75 to 150 is going to give us 225. So we put this one here at 225. Okay, and 75 to 225 is going to be 300. So we put this one at 300. And let's save it. We'll double check and make sure that it looks right. And we see that it's put them in the exact places that we wanted. So it was very quick and very easy to put all those in. All right, well that completes this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you've learned a lot. You take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.